lot of coaches have always mentioned that business development as a coach has always been kind of a challenge to many people. And I said, okay, maybe if that makes sense, we will take that as a topic. And today, that is really the topic that we are going to talk about. And uh, I'm just going to request all of you. It's going to be interactive sessions. I have slides which are blank. Okay, and with a lot of hope, I have got those blank slides here so that we will all fill up those slides together. And so together we will fill up those slides. But maybe it's a good idea if your bandwidth permits. Keep your videos on, and maybe just a couple of lines introduction, who you are and where are you placed. It will just help us to get started. Yeah. So please. Who goes? Yeah. Yeah, can I just have a couple of lines introduction, just about your name and where are you based at the moment right now? That will help. Let's get started.
Sade, can we start with you?
Yeah, why not? My name is Shade Odunaya. I love being called Shade. I am based in Lagos, and I'm an ICF certified coach trying to get my hours for ACC, but I also run the Action Coach business coaching franchise in Nigeria. So I'm a business coach.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anirudh, you are next. I'm just going as per the faces that I see on my screen.
Yes. Maybe orally?
Yeah, Anirudh.
You can introduce yourself. Anirudh, you can introduce yourself. Anirudh, yourself.
Okay. Yes. Hi. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all of you for joining this session. This is Aniruddha Kulkarni. I am an ICF certified coach. I'm an ACC. I have also done Marshall Goldsmith certified coaching. I'm based in Pune and currently working on this global coaching program, Pune Chapters Initiative, as coordinator, and happy to connect with you all. Thank you so much.
Anirudh is our star volunteer. Ranu, you are next on my screen.
Namaste, everyone. I am Ranu Mishra, and I'm an ICF coach, recently accredited to an ACC. I belong to ICF Pune chapter and have had an opportunity to be mentored by our speaker today, Mr. Yogesh Padgaonkar, and I'm his big fan. And of course, it was a pleasure and great learning to be a part of this cohort in terms of peer coaching over the last 8 weeks. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. Viviana.
Hello, everyone. Hello, coaches. So I'm Viviana. I'm part of ICF Malaysia chapter, and I'm a ACC coach. So I'm a life coach and coach for solopreneur or small business coaching.
Oh.
Thanks. Yes. Welcome, Viviana. We have Dr. Orji, if that's the correct pronunciation.
Yes, you got it. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
My name is Ndem Orji. I am part of ICF Nigeria, West Africa, but I'm based in Port Harcourt, Southern Nigeria. I'm credentialing for ACC, just certified late last year. But I'm also a business development personnel in a bank, but a practicing coach too. So it's really my pleasure to be part of this wonderful gathering and this session. And I look forward to benefiting from it. Thank you.
Thanks. Suresh.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Suresh. I'm based in Pune. I'm part of the ICF Pune chapter. I've just completed my 100 hours and I'm on the journey for my accreditation. And I also want to thank Anirudh for doing a great job. In fact, I must say he's helped me in getting the last 60 hours of my peer. I mean, I did most of it as peer coaching. So thanks, Anirudh. Thanks for organizing this.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to your session, Yogesh. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Suresh. Ramanji.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Raman here from Pune, one of the newbies. I'm new in this field, though I worked a long time in the corporate sector, but I just started on the journey to be a coach. I'm focusing on business coaching and leadership coaching. So many known faces here, and it is a hi to all of you, and thank you for this session, President Jayashree, and looking forward to Yogesh ji's all pearls of wisdom. Thank you, everyone.
Yogesh, no pressure.
Yeah, I mean, when Raman says that he's looking for a pulse of wisdom, I'm already started getting sweat. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So welcome. Chakur.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chakur Gandhi. I'm PCC and associated with ICF Pune. This program of cohort and this peer-to-peer coaching is really great, getting benefited out of it. And yes, looking forward to today's session by Yogesh. Thanks.
Thanks. Welcome. Vinay sir.
Hi, everyone. A very good evening to all of you who are from different parts of the world today here. It's such a great pleasure to interact. And also very grateful to Jayashree for, I got this message this evening, late afternoon. And I think it was worth attending when I heard about Suresh, the Yogesh is coming up on this. It was doubly, I was sure that it would be a beneficial kind of intervention. So I am part of ICF Pune chapter, a PCC certified coach. And I have about almost 18, 19 years of corporate experience, apart from before that being in the defense services for about 26 years. And I have done considerable amount of leadership team coaching. I've been director HR of 2-3 companies. And currently I'm also certified as a systemic leadership team coaching by Peter Hawkins. And I'm practicing it in a couple of corporates on that. So I'm really very happy to be here today, and I look forward to Yogesh. Every last session that I attended, I've become a fan of his now. So it's such a way to interact with you, Yogesh. Thank you very much for being here. Yeah.
Okay, and Renuka. Renuka?
I think she must have.
Okay. Janet then. Okay.
Janet.
Okay, Aurelie.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm connecting from my evening walk. So my name is Aurélie. I'm a consultant working in financial services and also a personal and executive coach working towards my ACC. I'm based in Singapore. I would like to thank you very much to the organizer and also to the master coach here today for sharing, I'm sure, great insights about coaching and business development, and very nice as well to connect to all of you tonight. Thanks.
Thanks, Aurelie. Thanks. Now we have Tosin David.
Hi, thank you. My bandwidth's not too good. That's why I'm just sticking with a picture and not using my video. It tends to fade out quickly. I'm based in Lagos and in ICF Lagos, and I do coaching around careers, a lot with careers. And because my background has been in financial services, I support a lot of clients in that area, but also in other areas too. Also SMEs. It's a pleasure to be here, and this initiative has been really wonderful. It benefited a lot from it. So thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you, Tosin. So glad. And finally, we have Lata. Good to have you, Lata. You're on mute.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, glad to be part of this really international fraternity of coaches this evening. And I work in Pune, just like Jayashree and a few others here. And I was a former executive, largely worked in the space of leadership development. And my work is more about mindful leadership and executive coaching. So yeah, glad to be here today. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Lata. Okay, I think we can proceed.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, and thank you so much for everybody being kind in giving their introductions. I still have a problem that unless I hear at least one or two lines from everybody whom I'm talking to, I can't really start. So thank you so much for that. And my only request is going to be as much as possible, if your bandwidth permits, if you can keep your videos on, I'll be very grateful. Let's begin. Now, the topic that I chose is that before coming to the topic of business development, let me give you a background when Jayashree said that, you know, why don't you talk about business development? And Jayashree is a Pune president chapter, and all of you should know that she knows the people extremely well. So when she talked to me, she realized this guy is little low on concept. So let me not give him some conceptual topic. You know, let me give him something which he can talk about. And then I said, hey, why don't you talk about business development? And I jumped on it for a very simple reason. Ironically, my coach stint actually started in my sales role. So I'm an HR person. Unlike Dr. Orji, I'm not a business development person or not a sales guy. I work predominantly with technology industry, and I predominantly worked as a CHRO. So, and I don't understand technology even today. In fact, there are a lot of jokes about my understanding of technology in my family and friends, but at one point of time in 2006, I decided to step into selling technology and executing technology, and you know, just to enhance my career. And a lot of people thought that was a suicidal move. And I was supposed to look after India, what we call the Middle East, basically predominantly the UAE part of it, and Africa. And in Africa, we had a predominant operations in South Africa. I was supposed to lead sales as well as operations for software technology. I never understood technology then. I don't understand it even today. Cutting a long story short, the region grew 4 times in 3 years. And the beauty is that at the beginning and the end, my technology knowledge was zero. And that is the time when I was talking to a friend, and he suddenly said, you know, you will actually enjoy coaching. Mind you, this was 2008 or 9. Coaching was still very new in India. And honestly, I had no big clue about what coaching is about. So he said, maybe you'll enjoy coaching, because if you don't understand the subject and you can still make the team successful, that's what coaches are supposed to do. You're not supposed to understand the subject. So I, first of all, when friends talk, I did not understand whether he's complimenting me or he's taunting me. But he said, oh, okay. So this coaching thing is interesting. And I started actually, so my coaching journey started after that. I started exploring my coach learning and stuff like that about 2009 onwards. And being a slow learner, I took a little time initially. And 2013, I think I did my PCC, and 2018, I did my MCC. The whole aspect is, when I keep talking to a lot of coaches, I realize that many a times they are accomplished professionals in their own walks of life, and then they have decided to switch to coaching as a career, as a profession, whatever it is. And there's a very genuine concern about business development. Okay, and I come across many people who keep talking about it, and that's the assumption today. But one thing I have learned is that I would not make any assumptions. And if you see the topic, I have said grow model and coach competencies and business development. Okay, I'm a big fan of grow model for a very simple reason. I actually use it as a problem-solving model in my life. Okay, not only for coaching, but it's generally a great model to have. So what I'm going to do is that on this session today, we are going to go as per the grow session. Okay, and let us attempt it. As I told you, I don't have too many slides, and Anirudh, you need to give me a screen sharing, right, please? I just need to share my presentation. Don't worry, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation. All my slides are blank. We are going to fill up together. That's the whole idea.
You should have screen sharing, right? Just check.
I still don't have, because it says that host disabled the participant screen share.
Sorry. Okay, I'll just do that. What I'll do is I'll make you co-host. So.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Yashi. All right. So this is what we are supposed to do today. Core competencies, business development, and grow model. How does it work together? Let's see. Okay, let's start doing that. All of you are familiar with grow model, because that's so I'm not going to spend time on that. But let's start approaching it with the goal model. And even before jumping into anything on business development, assuming anything on your behalf, my question to you is extremely simple. What should we achieve in today's session? Okay, what's the goal for today's session? Because the topic is very broad, business development. And on one side, I see people like Ramanji, who have been senior industry captains. I have seen Dr. Dorje, who himself is a business development person. So everybody would have different expectations, and I don't want to really give some kind of a storytelling without understanding what it is. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to ask you, and I just want to capture some expectations, okay? And I'm going to come to this slide and saying that have we done anything at all on the expectations that what people have expected. When you have signed up for this, I'm not able to insert a text here, okay? There's something wrong. Okay, yeah, here you go. Okay, anybody volunteer? So what, I mean, you're going to spend next 70-80 minutes on this. So what should we achieve in today's session? That's the G part of it, the goal part of it. And the more forthright and blunt you are, better it is. Whether I'm able to solve that problem or not is absolutely please, sir.
Yeah, in this business development, I am looking at business model which is B2C, more of retail coaching, one-on-one.
Okay.
So I would like to achieve to see how business development for normally coaching is happening more in corporates. So I'm looking at one-on-one coaching, business development.
Okay.
That's what I would like to have light upon.
Thank you, Chakur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a comment in the chat, best practice in developing a coaching practice for SMEs.
Best practice in developing a coaching practice. Thanks, Jayashree.
For SMEs. That's from Tosin.
Okay. And SMEs has two meanings. One is subject matter expert, one is small and medium enterprises. I'm a little confused which one is this.
I think this is small and medium enterprises.
Okay.
So one another thing which would be interesting, Yogesh, is if you could look at, the whole landscape of business is changing drastically. There's a lot of disruption happening, and the old models may some way be having to yield place to some new ways of coaching. So how do we look at business development in that context?
Okay.
Can I say something?
Please.
My response to that first question should be likened to the first one, the first answer. My expectation of what we want to achieve today is how to develop coaching clientele in our various environments.
How to develop coaching clientele in?
Yes, the clientele of coaching in our various environments, okay, as professional coaches.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Shade has asked best approach for marketing coaching in the virtual world.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So Yogesh, from my side, this is Vinay here.
Najib.
I would say how is a GROW model of coaching is related to coaching competencies, which are revised now, and how it is related to business development, how it can be best applied to business development.
Okay. So what I'm doing today is that I'm approaching GROW model. I'm just using GROW model for this workshop itself. Okay, for this our webinar itself. So I'm just following that methodology of what is our goal, what is the reality, and just brainstorming on that, because that will perhaps give a lot of initiatives. And I'll come to your question, Vinayji, as to where do the competencies come in picture when we talk about the business development.
Okay.
Right. Lovely. So hopefully we should be able to figure out the answers, and let's begin with your permission. Right. All right. So we will come back to this slide, and what will happen is that while we go on generating some of the ideas and some of the discussions, some of the specific questions, if they are not answered, we'll come back to this slide in the last 10 minutes and we'll answer specific questions. I'll answer them to the best of my capabilities and others can jump on. Is that fine with everybody? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, but can I make an observation to the point I raised?
Please.
The last word there is not environment. It should be coaches, professional coaches. Please, can it be?
So let's do the reality check, okay? I mean, if these are our goals and these are our reality, I'm just going to ask you a few questions. And what we would do is that to have a little better interaction, okay? Maybe my suggestion is that at a right time, we will also get into the breakout rooms so that we have a little more dialogue and discussions and suggestions. But let's begin to just check out where are we. I mean, if these are our goals and business development is this thing, I have just framed a few questions to just check out the reality and let's see where we are. Now, business development as a function raises a lot of eyebrows and you know, a lot of meanings, a lot of interpretations of business development when I talk to people. Some people also say that, you know, I don't do business development, you know, business comes to me. I have a very simple definition of business development. If you are running a business, the business development is happening. We are not confusing business development with selling. Okay. How to develop business? That's about it. Now, whether you want to call it marketing, selling, and a very, very simple definition that I am having is how to develop business. If I'm a coach, how to develop my business. That's it. And that goes close to Dr. Orji's question that as professional coaches in various environments, how do we really develop business? Now, my first question is going to be, and you know, again, it's a safe learning zone, and I want a one-word answer. Okay. Think about it and you can type your answer in a chat. Okay. What is the predominant emotion when you think of business development as a coach? Okay. So emotion is joy, stress, confusion, apprehension, whatever. But just one word. When I say, what is your predominant emotion when we talk business development? What is it that is coming? Somebody, I'll need some help to read out
yes,
what is happening in the chat.
Yeah, okay. So Shade says fear, Chakor says risk.
Okay.
Ranu says hesitation.
Okay.
Then there is unknownness.
Unknownness, okay.
Raman says tough.
Okay.
Suresh is anxiety. Anxious.
Okay.
Then Viviana says worry.
Okay.
And fear comes once again. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. This is exactly the point when Jayashree said that let's take business development as a feeling, and I did not want to make any presumptions. And I'm just going to read out what we just now heard. Okay. the feeling words that I heard are fear, risk, hesitation, unknownness, tough, anxious, worry, fear. Can you tell me what is common in all these feeling words?
Negative feeling.
Negative emotions.
Discomfort. Yeah.
Emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are negative emotions, right? None of it is a positive word. And I have a very simple definition of positive, negative. Positive is, I want to be in that space, is what we call positive. I don't see anyone who wants to be in hesitation, anyone wants to be in fear, anyone wants to be in unknownness and stuff like that. Now, my question is that I really appreciate saying it out something so bluntly. Yeah, and that's what I said, one word. Now I'm going to explore a little bit, and if you are comfortable, whosoever is comfortable sharing, what exactly does this emotion mean to you? Why? What makes business development invoke this kind of a emotion in you? What's there about business emotion? And we are in a safe learning zone amongst us coaches. Just let's be blunt, because the more blunt we are, the better.
Yogesh, this is Vinay here. I just want to add one more thing there. Okay, do I have your permission to do that?
Please.
Yeah, I just want to say my emotion would be more of business development is a given thing. That's a factual thing for me. That's a factual thing that yes, business development has to happen. Starting on that premise, right?
Yeah.
It's the current reality I'm looking at. Okay. My emotion would be more leaning towards what are the options and how do I move forward?
Okay. So curiosity.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So Ramanji, you were saying something.
I was saying that as coaches, execution is something we know or we think we know. The customer part is always uncertain. We don't know what goes on in the mind of a customer when he or she decides that they need our services, or they, what they want to pay for it, and how they want it to be executed. So therefore, the execution is hopefully within us and more certain. What is out external to us is uncertain.
Okay. And that external to us is predominantly the customer part of it. What exactly are they expecting? What are they willing to pay?
So it's customer, it's competition, it's customers' financial situation. It's a whole lot of factors. You never know what affected you eventually in getting or not getting a business.
Yeah.
It could be which college you went to. It could be, whether the customer was, working in the same company as you, or there can be hundreds of factors. But as I said, they're all external to you.
And just one clarification question that I would like to ask you is that, is this specific to business development of coaching, or this is specific to business development in general?
In general.
General.
Okay. Fair enough. No, that's fine. Okay. So these are the common risks that we really have whenever we talk about business development. Fair.
Any business would have that. Yes.
And you're absolutely right, Ramanji, that business development for coaching, and that's the first point I want to make. Business development for coaching actually follows exactly the same principle like business development of any other business. And that's a good news and a bad news. Yes, Chakorji.
Yeah. The premise of all these emotions, I think so, is one word is challenge.
Okay.
And when I also coach my clients for business development, it's fear of the fear. We are just sitting on the edge of the water and thinking what will happen once we plunge, but we actually have never plunged. It's just thinking how it will happen. And that's the challenge.
Yeah, fear of fear. That's a beautiful word. And Chakorji, if you don't have intellectual property rights on that word, I'm going to use it. Yeah.
Don't call me Chakorji. I'm just Chakor.
Thanks, Chakor.
No, that's Chakor. That G is for Gandhi.
Yeah, okay. Well said.
For those who are friends who are from outside India, when you address somebody like G, it's almost like saying San in Japanese. It's like you are respecting somebody. That's about it. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? What's exactly the reason behind these feelings that you expressed?
Can I say something?
Please, Shade.
I think generally most of us have these feelings because that is the way when somebody's marketing you, the impression you get as well. It's not positive. They're putting you under pressure. They're forcing you sometimes. So you're thinking, am I going to do the same thing for somebody else? I don't want to be seen like that person. You know, that I think that's where it comes from. But it stems from our belief as to what marketing and salespeople are like, and you don't want to be seen in that light. I think that's it.
So sometimes the emotion is very deeper, as Shade says. It's more about how would I be perceived, and there is some image in my mind which I have experienced about somebody selling me or somebody marketing me. And that image is not positive, and I don't want to be like that. And if business development means that, that gives me jitters. Brilliant, absolutely. Yeah. Rano saying, I feel never ready, fear of showing up imperfectly. That's what Rano was saying. Yeah, somebody was saying yes. Yes, sir. I was just just speak it up because I'm not reading comments so well. So just speak it up. Yes, Dr. Orji.
Okay. I think I will say that fear is born out of uncertainty in what to offer, uncertainty as to the need satisfaction from the point of view of the buyer this time, who is the client, uncertainty about the authenticity and quality of the product offering, which in this case is the coaching skill. So uncertainty all around brings that fear from my perspective.
Uncertainty about what is the offering, uncertainty about who is the client, uncertainty about what exactly is the match. Is that right? All right. You know, some beautiful pattern is emerging out. And
there's one more. Can I come in? Yeah. So another thing which is coming to my mind is the other way around, in the sense you see some people marketing so well and they do business development so well, they talk so beautifully, and then sometimes you feel maybe, can I do that? So maybe not perception about us, it is about what you have seen out there, and it seems so they do it with so much ease, and you don't know if you have it in you or no.
So brilliant, and thank you so much for this lovely input. So what I see as patterns which are emerging, one pattern what Raman and Dr. Orji talked about is uncertainty in terms of customer, environment, offerings, and how to determine what to determine. That's uncertainty. Then there is a perception of either positive or negative. As Renuka said, somebody is so good. I've seen somebody so effective that I don't even know whether I'll ever be able to do something like that. Or like Shade said that, I've had an experience which does not give me a great impression about business development. And my fear is about whether I will be getting something into that, right? And my next questions are exactly around these. That's a funny part of it. And but before I go to my next questions, I'm going to share something very, very, very personal with you. Okay, as I told you that I'm not a business development professional. I learned it by accident. So I was this HR person who, out of the ambition to develop my profile, I went to sell. Okay. And I actually took an advantage of a corporate policy where if you have good ratings for 3 years, you can ask for a role change. So I asked for a role change, and it was pretty weird to ask for a role change as a CHRO. But my CEO had to humor me, and finally he gave me a region which was doing pretty bad. And Raman may be laughing because he has been a CEO. He's saying that, at least let me lower the risk by giving the region which is already in the dumps to this guy who wants to sell now. Okay. And somebody told me that, Yogesh, people should not think that you are an HR person. They should really see you as a technology salesperson, right? And the moment that happened, I started getting a pressure, because in my mind, there is something called a technology sales profession. And here I'm an HR person without understanding of technology. So I started behaving like what I thought was a technology salesperson. Okay. And let me tell you, first 2 months, there was not a single mail in my inbox. And people were laughing. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. And sometimes they say that sometimes you get so fed up and bored of putting on a mask or putting up a kind of a facade that you say, forget it. If this is selling, I'm not going to do it. And I generally said at one point of time, I asked myself a question. I was sitting in a cafeteria and I said, am I ashamed of my background? Am I ashamed of my background that I'm an HR person? Is there something to hide about it? Why am I trying to project something that what I am not? Right? And I said, leave it. I'm not going to put on any kind of a facade. I'm just going to go and tell people who am I. And after that, if they want to give me business, let them give business. Or otherwise, I will say I failed and I'll walk off. And that was so it was not really any strategic thinking or something. It was sheer desperation. Okay. And sometimes sheer desperation is good. So I started telling people, and my customers used to be the typical chief information officers or chief technology officers of large companies. So when I met them, I started telling them, something, I don't understand technology. I'm actually an HR person. I'm not a sales guy. Initially, they had a little quizzical look on their face, and something funny happened. They started saying, hey, listen, you are an HR person, is it? And they started opening their goal sheets in front of me, saying that, can you guide us on what exactly I need to do to succeed in my career? Can you imagine a client opening up his goal sheet to a vendor salesperson, saying that this is my goal sheet, these are my key result areas, can you tell me what should I be doing to succeed? And this was like, I said, wow, this is like, I'm perhaps the most powerful sales guy that could open the client's goal sheet more than anything else. And the first learning I had in my life about business development is absolutely related. Something which is the primary coach competency in ICF is the ethics. It's absolute clarity about who you are. Because one philosophy that I learned is that companies don't buy from companies. People buy from people, especially in the services business. And let me tell you, even a child has a sense to understand when you are not authentic. And if you want to check out what I'm saying is that sometimes the guests come to your place and they're not exactly interested in the child, but to be civil and to be civilized, they try talking to your child. The child understands that this person is actually not very interested in me. And then you see your child misbehaves. He doesn't give answers. Somebody is asking the name to the child. What is your name? Which school do you go? And your child stands up like this, 3 or 4 years, doesn't give an answer, decides not to answer that day. And you as a parent sometimes can get very embarrassing that you start giving explanations. No, he generally answers everything, but today is not good. The child knows that these questions are asked without interest. I don't have to answer them, right? And the child is still not trained in etiquette and civil society, so just decides to go by the instinct. So when you are not authentic, a person in front of you, irrespective of his background, IQ, knows that you are not authentic. The worrying part is that she or he does not understand what you are not authentic about. And that's the worrying part. So the first mind block a lot of people have, when I hear this negative emotions, I need to be somebody else to develop business or to come across as a coach. And to my mind, that is the first serious block. I have also heard statements, and Jayashree will bear me out. Yesterday only we were discussing this, that, I come across some people who have some experience, like on this call, there are so many people who have so much experience before coaching, right? That somebody is an architect or somebody is a financial services person. Now you have an industry domain and there's something that you have, correct? And your clients are not educated and the clients do not know that anybody can coach anybody, that we as coaches have been trained. But please understand, your clients don't know that. So they still look out for somebody whom I can trust, somebody whom I think will understand what I do, though it is absolutely irrelevant in the client space. So the trick there is to first figure out who am I and what is it that I bring to the table. But let me ask you the first next couple of questions, and it will be a little more clear to you. The next question I have is that whom are you planning to help and why? And what is it about you that would invite people to seek your help? Now, if you're really going to get into develop your business as a coach, these are the two fundamental questions. And those of you who are in business for a long time will bear me out. These are not the question if you are developing coaching business. These are pretty much questions for any business actually. Whom are you planning to help? And this goes back to, I think somebody asked, who is the client? It's a fundamental question. Same thing I'm asking. Whom are you going to help and why? And what is it about you that would invite people to seek your help? Right? So there are the two questions. Now, any thoughts on these two questions? Because you need to answer this first right in your mind.
Yogesh ji, in marketing terms, knowing your customer is first question. Where does he eat? Where does he makes? Where do you meet him? When do you meet him? How do you meet him? And who's my customer? And second, in marketing terms, is also called as USP, unique selling proposition. Why only me? So in marketing, it applies similarly, I think, so in coaching.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's absolutely, Chakor, this is absolutely the same concept. And I'm asking very simple questions. Whom do you want to, so for example, there are a lot of people who come from academic background and they transition into coaching. Now I keep telling them that what is your strength? What are you perceived as? You are perceived as an academician, and that is what people see you as your strength. So the chances are very high that if you go to a university and project yourself, if you choose to help students, parents, careers, perhaps that is a space where you would, and coaching is an approach how you would help people, right? Similarly, Vinayji said some time back that your interest is in B2C business. Now, B2C is like an ocean. What is who? And you, thankfully, you mentioned your background also. Now, for example, you have so much experience in the forces, armed forces. You have so much experience at the top level in the corporate world. What it does is that naturally, leadership is something which people would look up to you as your, what Chakor said as the USP. Oh, okay, he has this background and he has this kind of this thing. So maybe he's the fundamentally great person to talk to about, because he would have seen crises, so many that nobody else would have seen. He would have really handled difficult situations. So, the crisis leadership. I'm just giving a very random example, Vinay, bear with me. Now, who are the people who would look out for this kind of a help in a simple term? Because, sometimes we don't go to the paper and start writing these answers for us. And bear me out, no business would be able to afford to start even unless they answer these two questions. Whom do I want to help and why would they take help from me? These are the two simple questions. Fair?
Yogesh, this is very clear. Before I give an answer to your specific question, I just wanted to share something with you. I'm not a marketing or a sales guy. I've never been. frankly. Maybe now when I'm telling you this experience and for others to hear it, it may be very generic to them, right? I would not name the company. It's in Pune. When I explain, probably you will understand whom I'm talking about. It's a big company, very prestigious, well known. And I was director HR of this company, group director HR. Now, the company was coming up with a huge project in Hinjewadi. Hinjewadi is, for others, yeah, you will understand, the people from outside the country. It's a big area where there was a huge project, about 100 acres plus was coming up there. And they wanted to bring in a hotel, a large hotel chain, as one of the elements as part of that project. I was appointed in addition to my HR role. The chairman told me that to take control of this project. I want to take control of this project. Now, that is all that he told me, a few other things also. Okay, so I did that. And one day he calls me and he says, look, I want to bring some prestigious hotel chain here as one of the, principal element of this project, attractive, USP. So kindly go ahead and start your work the way you want to. I had no background of marketing whatever, frankly. But I said, all right, here is a reality which has been given to me, and I have to now go about it. So what I actually did, collected all the data of all the best of the hotels, both international and Indian hotels and all those things, and contacted their right kind of people there. And they sought an appointment with them. And before that, I created a complete profile of that project, the USP of that project, and how it is going to help those hotels if they come here and all that, right? Data-wise. Fortunately for my sake, all those 5 hotel chains, both international and so on, so I was given the appointment. And I contacted some other people who were outside the country but known to me, and they knew those people, so therefore they helped me to get an appointment. So I met those guys and gave them a presentation about this, the whole project, and how if the hotel comes in here, how it is going to benefit in terms of business and all that. To cut the whole thing short, 2 large Indian hotel chain, one is the ITC and the other was the Taj Group of Hotels. They came and saw the project, and their director level people came in. They saw the whole thing. There was the meeting organized with the chairman and the managing director of the company, along with me and some other finance head and all that. Discussions happened. Today, one of the large Taj Hotel segment is existing in that project. Now, I had no experience of business and marketing. I only saw this is the current reality. Now, how do I go about it? So I looked at the options, and with these options, who do I contact? What do I do? The hotel came.
Yeah,
it is today functioning in that place.
This is precisely the point that I'm making, that, marketing and sales is looked upon as something which is very, very, at a very esoteric level, but it's all about the groundwork actually. And asking simple questions and answering simple questions. So when you are setting up your coaching business, that groundwork, and that groundwork is in simple terms, what do I bring to the table? Whose problem can I solve easily? And I will have a credibility to solve. And what kind of people do I want to connect? Because what happens is that I have seen a lot of coaches under the name of business development start contacting, they start giving their credentials. I'm ACC, I'm PCC, I'm MCC. Please understand one thing, with all due respect to all these credentials, including mine. Clients don't care about, most of them who are not educated about the coaching, they don't care about these credentials. They don't, sometimes somebody says, you should have been ACC, but you are only MCC because A is a better letter than M. Yeah, so I mean, I've heard everything. So don't worry about that. So the biggest assumptions we make is that because I understand the ICF hierarchy and what coach is, my clients also understand that. It does not work that way. Just like any other business, coaching business is about what problem are you going to solve? whose problem are you going to solve, and why would they hire you? And that's a starting point. And if you really get in touch base with you and find out, it's like your strength inventory, right? If you find out why should people come to me, you will actually get an answer. You don't have to really, and I completely agree Shade's point. Shade, for example, right now I'm speaking a lot, so it is difficult to believe, but I'm an introvert. I'm a classic introvert. So if you take me out to the party, I completely get lost. I just like to sit in a corner unless I know people. I'm that kind of a person, right? So business development, as we understand it, is something about going out, impressing people, wining, dining, is not about it. Business development is an absolute ethical job where you're solving people's problem and helping them to define their problem. If you're able to do that, it's an ethical job. Yeah, and that's the way I really look at it. But if you don't answer these questions, you will go on shooting the bullets without a target. That whom should I help, and why should they come to me for help? And these look like simple questions, but please, my request is that sit down and start answering them.
I have a question about this, particularly this point. Who would need my help, or whom should I target, or my target audience? But in coaching, fundamentals is anyone can coach anybody.
Yes.
Nowadays in the market, there are labels, business coach, emotional coach, leadership coach, whatever, all those coaches. And then on the other side, when I said B2C, if I have to see coaching for any and every individual, irrespective, now like my background is business, I am very good in understanding, connecting and correlating with small and medium enterprises business because I have been one of them. So whenever he says something, I can connect very easily. But then do I put a label saying that business coach and look at only those customers who they would easily come to me because, that is the background. Not that I have something extra, but do I look at the entire market or only focus on business coaching?
So
is my question.
Thanks a ton for asking this question. So by no stretch of imagination, I'm saying that you start keeping yourself in that container, but that's a great starting point. Okay. And you are approaching them. You don't have to, I basically don't like labels, to put it very honestly, like a business coach because if you see the ICF coaching by definition is life coaching. You coach a person, you never coach an issue or a task or a role. Right? So Chakor, to answer your question, wherever is my path of least resistance, where I'm going to get my initial business, I'm going to start with them. I will not label myself because they are approaching me as a coach. But now I have because what happens is that just like, in any game, and somebody gave a beautiful analogy that, there's a scare of taking a plunge. You're just sitting on this thing. Once you jump into the pool, you realize water is not as bad as it felt sitting from outside. The beauty is that when you start with the path of least resistance, you start getting the traction. That itself gives a very different confidence to you as a person. And when you then approach other people also, I think something different comes out. So you don't have to constrain yourself to that category or something. But in business development, the first principle is that get your feet moving, get the first set of clients, get that confidence and money under the belt. And I'm purposely saying money under the belt very, very clearly. I'll tell you why. Because ICF also, if you have looked at it, they value paid coaching. You know why they value paid coaching? Because they say that if somebody is paying for your coaching, that means there's a quality, right? So that's why when you get paid, when you get some clients under your belt, the world is yours. I mean, I started with let me give you my background. I predominantly have worked with technology companies. I have not worked with manufacturing companies. And Chakor, to answer your question, easily I started getting some work from technology companies. Today, 70% of my work, surprisingly, is from manufacturing companies. And I've never worked with a manufacturing company. But if I had started breaking my head against manufacturing, I would never had a start. I got a very easy start with technology companies because they thought, okay, this guy understands technology industry. He has handled the business there. As you said, I got a very easy entry. And that was the beginning 5 years back. Today, my 70% of my clients are non-IT, non-technology.
So it is called low hanging fruits. My only concern was whether I will get labeled only for business, if I get into that domain.
So you decide how you want to get labeled. Okay. The other thing what I'm going to now share with you is that social media marketing is not about putting videos and slides about what are service offerings. People actually don't even see those videos. Okay. People don't even see those videos actually because they know this is a selling video. They know this is a advertisement. Try this out. Okay. Start putting whatever media you choose, Facebook, LinkedIn, start putting extremely personal kind of insights, which actually define about who you are. Yeah. And you will start getting the following, right? And I don't post anything about my work, for example, on my FB, because I'm aware that a lot of my clients are on the FB and I don't want to be that as a selling site. Okay. But it just helps to connect much better. I'm going to talk about the last bullet point on that slide of.
One moment, Yogesh. Yes. Any example? Before you do that, example? Please. Any example?
Sorry? So can I just?
Dr. Orji, your audio is not clear. Maybe you switch off your video so that your audio is clear.
Please, before the exam.
We are not able to hear you, Dr. Orji. Maybe you can switch your video so that switch off your video so that we'll be able to hear you. Maybe.
In the meantime, Yogesh, any example of to state what you are doing?
I'll do that.
We're speaking.
Sorry, Dr. Orji, can
you now? Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible now. Yes, you're audible.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Something just resonated to me when you were trying to explain the first question, and you hit on the basic thing, which is the ethics. The next thing that came to me after that explanation is, what is coaching all about? Is it not about the client, partnering the client? And if you can take the ethics consideration and get it right, and you also look at the next factor in professional coaching, which is about the client, and then partnering the client, you never make a sale until you make a move, irrespective of who the client is. Make a move, then follow those ethics, and then focus on the client and partner the client. Like you, if it is not going to work the way you expected, it will work in a way that will surprise you.
Yeah, Dr. Orji, you actually have made my job easier. You have actually taken away my last slide. This is exactly the coach competencies that you're talking about, because when you display these competencies and you partner with the client, which is the core of coach competencies, you actually have a very easy thing. The other thing which I'm talking about is the myths about business development. Sometimes, and going back to what Shade said some time back, she said that, I've seen some people marketing and selling, and then sometimes it creates a negative kind of an impression. I always was told that, unless you wine and dine customers and you take them out, you understand about fine wines and stuff like that, you'll never be able to sell at international level. And here is my problem. I have never tasted a drop of beer in my whole life. I don't understand anything about it. And how am I going to do? Then I realized it's just a myth. I mean, if you are who you are, it's a very endearing kind of a quality. Now, let me share with you how it works. We were bidding for a multi-million-dollar pitch in a technology business, and the client came from the US. Out of the 8 service lines that they had asked, I realized that our company could do only 5. So my natural advice that I got was, okay, we will partner with some other company for the 3 service lines. I said, no, we will just go with 5, and said that, they say that we'll present only that. People laughed at me saying that, you'll never get this deal because all the big Indian IT players were in the fray. So I still remember the first review was in Hyderabad, city of Hyderabad in India. I've made a first statement saying that, out of 8 service lines, the 3 of them, the spelling we got to know from your document. We know only 5. Are we allowed to present? And the CIO, Chief Information Officer, who had come from US, he burst out laughing. He said, sure, go ahead, present, right? And cut the long story short, we won the deal, beating the biggest companies. And in the end, the CIO told our CEO that I'm not a fool. I don't think you guys know this technology more than bigger companies. But I'm not outsourcing something rocket science. I'm outsourcing something where I need a trusted partner. And I realized that you were the only guys who very honestly told me what you don't know. Okay, and we backed that multi-million-dollar. In coaching business, many a times when I go and meet my clients, I have no agenda. There's a genuine interest about checking out what is the problem. Can I solve that problem? And sometimes I tell them that, no, this is the problem, this seems to be the problem, but I'm not the right person. And believe me, sometimes my clients have told me, why are you not the right person? Because I tell them I don't know. They say, oh, how much time will you take to know? And at that time, sometimes I just want to get the monkey off my back, and I say, no, I'll take 2-3 months. And my clients have waited for 2-3 months. And this is a reality I'm telling you. So the myths about business development is that you have to be this smart, you have to really keep, whoever does those negotiation skills workshops, I have a real problem. You should keep your cards close to your chest, and you should not have a poker face. You should not allow the others to understand what you are thinking. I go exactly the opposite. I go and tell them what I know, what I don't know. This is my problem. This is my failure. And this helps me bond so well with my clients. And I'm telling you a funny situation. Sometimes when they know that I'm not a solution, they are hiring other vendors. They've actually taken my help to evaluate. So this is the trust, this is the trust that we are talking about. And coming back to Chakor, your question about, give me the example of social media. So on social media, typically, I'll tell you, I think one of the posts I recently put was, I thought I am a coach, so I tried, and I thought I'm a good parent also, and I have very good interactions with my kids. But 3 days back, my son told me, you give a lot of lectures, so stop doing that. There was humongous laughter around that. There was comments about that. People were pulling my leg. So you don't take yourself very seriously as a coach. The other problem sometimes I have realized is that the coaches start taking themselves like very seriously as wise men and women. Actually, you will get the coaching business only if your client feels you are a trusted friend. And that's the trick. You will never get a business when the client feels, oh, you are so above. Then that brand is very different. Maybe a Marshall Goldsmith or somebody like that. The other thing which I learned is that if you can help somebody, just help. Don't look for everything out of every transaction. You don't have to get the returns. And I'm going to give you a very simple example. I started my company 5 years back, and I started my website. And I said, okay, I'm going to also get into coaching business. So I said, let me get an article from Marshall Goldsmith on my website. Now, I'm an unknown coach in India. Why would Marshall Goldsmith give me an article for my website, right? So I wrote to Marshall Goldsmith, I'm so-and-so, would you give me an article so that I can publish on my website? I still remember I was traveling on a train from Hyderabad to Pune. And the answer came back in 5 minutes saying that here is the article. So I was now confused. I just wanted to be sure that I don't misuse the article. So I wrote back to him saying that my company is a commercial company and I'm planning to put it on my website. Are you okay with that, with your photo? And I just attached a photo from a web saying that, I just wanted to check with him, double check with him, that I don't want to. He replied back saying that, don't use this photo, use this photo. He sent an updated photo and said that publish this article on your commercial website. Now, that is a coach. He in his wildest of the imagination, I'm so much of a non-entity that he's not going to get any help from me ever. Or maybe today I'm talking good about him in front of 20 people. and that's yeah. But I was so touched. I was so touched by that gesture of a person of that stature without knowing who I was, sending me that. So if you really want to establish a coaching business, be who you are. If you can help. Don't look to close every transaction financially. I have sometimes waited for 18 months for my first coaching assignment to come from a particular company, but I had about 10 discussions with the CEO when he was talking to me about, because he knows I'm from HR, so he keeps asking me something. And one fine day, he suddenly, I think, he realized there's too many free advice he has taken by now. So he says, by the way, I'm now thinking of coaching. Would you like to do it? I said, of course, I opened a shop for that. Why would I not do that? So to my mind, business development gives you a joy when you are genuinely interested in people, when you are genuinely solving their problems. Don't worry about how this transaction will close. If you're solving somebody's problem, solve the problem. Tell people what coaching is not. Okay. And then if they want to hire you as a mentor, as a consultant, that's okay. Another thing which I would definitely like to tell you is that don't be adamant about pure play coaching business. Sometimes you will get hired as a consultant for your knowledge. Sometimes you will get hired as a mentor. And I think if you're open for that, you're just increasing your traction. And the moment you increase your traction, you start getting the coaching business also. And you are a community of coaches. I don't hesitate sharing this with you. In spite of being credential coach when I started my company, I took exactly 7 months to get my first coaching engagement. But I was doing billable work from the first month. So that is the concept of coaching, because any marketing, any salesperson will tell you, you are not going to develop your business by being with yourself. Interact with as many people as you want. Give help to people whom you can help, because if they can't give you business, at least the word spreads around, because it's all about creating your authentic brand. And I think all of the people, I can tell you, the way you told me the emotions, the biggest emotion I can venture to share with all of you is that I want to be authentic is what I heard when you told me all those words. I don't want to mislead people. I don't want to misrepresent. And that is what I heard from those emotions when I heard them. So don't worry about that. Just be who you are. Go to people whom you can help. Help people whom you can help. Start with wherever you are and whatever you are. As a consultant, as a mentor, as a coach, slowly this starts building up. Do a lot of education to people. It helps tremendously to educating people what is coaching, what is not coaching. The other thing, and I'm going to talk about, I'm really talking about some options, but I don't care. I think we have from reality, we have shifted into options without me understanding it, but that's beauty. That's fine. The second thing I personally follow is that I have a coaching billing rate, which is my rate. I don't negotiate on that. Okay, and this is not arrogance, I'll tell you. And sometimes I realize the clients don't have a budget, really, genuinely. I don't have any reason to doubt that. But when they don't have a budget and when they like me as a coach, I offer them that I will do pro bono. And then one client asked me, but why would you do pro bono? What's wrong about taking a little lower money? Is it about money? I said, no, it is not about money. Because there are some people who trustingly pay me my rate. And the moment I take any money lesser than that rate, to my mind, I'm breaching my authenticity as a person. And then person asked me, but how would they know? I said, maybe integrity is about what you do when somebody is not looking, right? Now, these are extremely important things, because the moment you stick to your own authenticity, it gives you a very, very different conviction in life. It gives you a very, very different strength in life. It gives you a tremendous goodwill in life, because my whole thing is that business development is an extremely ethical profession. Business development is all about authenticity. You cannot develop business by not being authentic. We talk about client centricity. Let the client decide what the client wants. Who are we to say that you need coaching? Maybe the client needs consulting. Maybe the client needs mentoring. Maybe the client needs something else, and so be it. Right? When you go to business, I'll tell you right now what helped me to succeed in technology. And that was again an accident. A lot of technology people struggled in that region earlier because they were selling technology. They were knowledgeable about technology. They wanted to sell some solution. And I was such an ignorant fool that I never understood any technology. So I used to go and listen to people what their problems are. And I actually had the dialogue with my clients, prospects, saying that, you know something, our technical people talk technology, which you and I don't understand, but I'm going to be your person inside my company. And I have closed the deals. I have told the CTO after he gave me the spiel about what technology they do for 20 minutes. There's a guy called Venkat in Bangalore, and I have permission to say this story. After 20 minutes, Venkat asked me, now do you understand what you do, what we do? I said, Venkat, actually I have not understood a word because I don't understand technology, but I have understood that you are anxious about spending in this technology. We have a person in our company who also wants to spend on this technology. I'm going to connect him to you and he will create a board presentation for you. If you get investment, give me business. So Venkat looked at me and burst out laughing. And he said, this is the most crude sales call I've ever seen in my whole professional career. And then he took a pause and said, but this is also the most honest one. So, you know, you start enjoying business development by who you are and not trying to be a coach, not trying to be somebody. Because the moment you want to sit on a high pedestal in front of your client, you will never develop business. You will just frustrate yourself. Because now you are sitting on a high pedestal thinking I'm a coach. Then there is an expectation also. The client needs to treat me something differently because I am now a knowledgeable coach. I'm a credentialed coach. Honestly, client cares to hoots. And he is worried about his problems, right? He is worried about or she is worried about their problems. So whether you are a coach or a non-coach or a mentor, as long as you can solve their problem, they're good with it, actually. We put so much of constraint by putting labels around us. A business development never happens the moment you put yourself in a can saying that I am so and so. You are who you are as a person, and that's the best business development tool you can ever hope to have. And if you don't have a sales and marketing background, actually you have a brilliant chance of developing business more joyfully. I still remember somebody asked me, so Yogesh, in Pune, what is your competition? So I was talking to my ex-chairman where I worked as a head HR. And he, out of genuine love and concern, asked me, so Yogesh, in Pune, who are your competitors? And I looked back at him. He said, Yogesh, are you arrogant that you are saying that you don't have any competition? I said, no, sir. My problem is that I don't know who is my competition. So he says, how can you do business without knowing your competition? I said, sir, I run a 2-people company. If I get 10 coaching engagements, my calendar is full. And there are definitely more than 10 coaching engagements in the world around. So there's an infinite pool out there. My humble request to you is that if you are starting your coaching business, don't waste a single minute on understanding what your competition is doing, who your competition are. Because once you start tracking that, you start mimicking them or you start reacting to what they are doing. It just doesn't matter actually. You know, if you're a coach, if you have 10 coaching engagements, your calendar is full. That's it. And there's enough for everybody. So the business development also happens from a approach of abundance. Business development never happens from an approach of constraint. Business development would always happen from an approach of abundance. And I've come across, let me share another example with you. We were coaching a company and me and my friend were coaching about 8 people, multi-billion-dollar company, trading company. The discussions were going fantastic, young leaders. We have a mid-review of coaching where the clients narrate to their sponsor about how the coaching is going so that the sponsor understands. So all these guys gave flowing kind of, we are enjoying coaching and this and that. They were brilliant people. And as the CEO told me and my friend, okay, now we have to really, I just have to drink coffee with you because you have heard brilliant feedback. There's nothing from my side. So you continue the rest of the time. So we told him, sir, we actually want to stop coaching. And he said, are you guys mad? I said, sir, because the problem is that your people are having great intellectual discussions with us. But whenever we check out an action plan, not a single action plan is worked. So, the coaching is not working. And don't take it as their attitude issue. Our process is not working. Client is never wrong. Okay? So process is not working. If the action had really come out from their heart, they would have worked on that. but the very fact that they are not working on action. So he said, what do you think is happening? I said, sir, you are giving them coaching in anticipation of the challenges ahead, but they are not facing the heat right now. So they don't really feel the need for coaching. But because you have nominated them for coaching, and it's a nice corporate style to say that I have a coach. Now, believe me, you can call me mad for cutting my billing for the rest of the time. But that is exactly the strength that I have. Because that person talked to 3 other persons and I already have 2 more clients through them. So it's okay. You do what is right. And that is where I know I'm aware about the time and I hope I'm making sense, but I'm coming to my last slide, which is really of the options. Yeah, what are your options? And this is where I'm talking about the coach competencies. Okay, somebody asked me, how are we relating to the coach competencies? We have talked about a lot of, these are your options if you really ask me. And I can actually share the screen, but I'm sure you are all familiar with what the words are. They're beautiful words if you see the ICF document about what exactly these competencies are. If you're open, curious, flexible, and client-centric, that's the starting point. Ethics is non-negotiable. Absolutely. If you can really are able to make friends, friends are the ones with whom you feel trust and safety, right? All this helps you to maintain a presence. Whether you get a particular engagement or not, you will get a brand at least. So you'll either get an engagement or you will get a brand. When you're authentic in front of the client, you'll either get an engagement or a brand. And absolutely, this is not rocket science, because if coaching required IQ, I would be struggling big time. IQ is not one of my strengths. If coaching the business development required somebody to be extrovert, I wouldn't be doing a single business, because I don't like to generally go up and talk to strangers. I'm very diffident to go across, and I can't do cold calls. Okay. So it has got nothing to do whether you are introvert, extrovert. It has got nothing to do, just first understand the reality of who you are. Whom do you want to help? Why would they approach you to help? And just start helping. The business develops on its own. So somebody who says that I don't do business development technically is actually right. Because what you're doing all the time is just you're doing what you think is right, and the business develops. And thankfully, that's the beauty of the coaching business. And I hope this is making some sense. Anyone with core coach competencies would find business development very enjoyable, because it's all about just being yourself, just being, just try to be friends with your clients. Don't try to be that coach who sits on a high pedestal, credentialed coach, wise person. They're not asking for that. They're asking for a trusted friend whom they can open up. I think one of the earlier sessions I talked about the importance of chemistry meeting. A chemistry meeting is not about impressing the client with who you are and what your achievements are. Chemistry meeting is telling the client, you can relate to me because I'm no different, and we can trust each other. That is the purpose of chemistry meeting. Yeah. And that is really the whole is about. And to my mind, the last W of GROW model is really, what are you going to do about after all these discussions and dialogue? Is the will do. Right? That is for every individual. Yeah. I am completely aware of time, and sometimes I get so excited that I may overshoot the time. I'm aware that we are approaching the time. So I have to show you my most important slide, and then we will come to any questions answered. Then we'll go back to whether we have followed the agenda. But then the people who at least want to go off, I just want to present my most important slide. Thank you. On a Saturday evening, to hear somebody like me, who doesn't exactly have a melodious voice, it takes a humongous efforts, and kudos to you. You are real coaches. You really have empathy, at least. Yeah, if nothing else, so you have an empathy to listen to me. So thank you so much. And I hope it's making some sense. All right?
Yeah. Are you open for questions now?
Absolutely.
Wow. Wait, so, I'm going to take a screenshot, Yogesh.
Yeah, we need to have the videos on for a screenshot.
Yes, nice. Please, your videos on. A big smile. Okay. Yay. Done. You can keep wearing your smile though.
So all questions, any feedback, I hope it made sense. Thank you. But that's all I had. And
I have a question.
yes, sir.
With all this, you sounded very genuine, very simple, and just being what you are and trying to help. I even liked your feedback as to negotiation. That is the most important part, So I would like to ask a question while pricing. In the beginning, you always have a fear whether I'm overpricing. Then I also have a fear, did I lose because of underpricing? So, what psychology of the client or what strategy do you use? And I've asked this question globally while peer-to-peer coaching also. Not getting a very clear picture as to how to price yourself. And I am talking especially on individuals. My clients are a mix of consulting, mentoring, and coaching. No businessman is going to pay if I say I'm going to only coach you. He says, answer my questions. Where do I get money? Or this is the issue. So, and these are the people who pay from their pockets. Unlike corporate, someone else pays, someone else gets coached. So it's directly payment from their pocket. So what kind of strategy should one use? Because pricing is one of the important part of the strategy of business development.
Yeah. So I generally think, what am I worth of in terms of what am I offering and what should I be getting? Okay. I don't have any market data. So I decided that price. Okay. Now, exactly what you said sometimes happens. Corporates, it's sometimes a little easier. Individuals who are paying out of the pocket. Okay. I also had the same question, but I'll tell you what I did. I told those people, whenever I was coaching individuals who were paying for their own, so these were typically entrepreneurs, okay, running mid-sized companies. I said, this is my rate, okay, but I'm not going to raise any invoice to you, but I just want to tell you this is my rate. At a point of time when you think your agenda is complete, you decide whether you want to pay me or not.
Oh.
And it has always worked.
But pay the exact amount, not less than that.
Absolutely.
Not how much you want to pay. Pay whenever you feel like.
Otherwise, if I sincerely feel that there is a genuine issue of, so for example, there are 2-3 times there were very young professionals in their early 20s who were entrepreneurs in Pune, and they had started some, a marketing digital consulting company. I just did not have a heart to ask money to them. I said, yeah, I mean, just let's go ahead and do it, because I know you don't have budget right now. Maybe later on when you guys become big, that time you just put a caption that, we were coached by Yogesh. That's my fees. So,
That is there with all entrepreneurs and startups. They don't have money. But I asked one typical...
Chakor, can we just ask any of our guests from other countries if they have any specific questions?
Okay.
Because we may also learn from their realities in that case. Sorry. So Viviana, Titi, welcome. Tasin, Sade, any questions for Yogesh?
Sorry, did you say we should ask questions?
If you have any questions, please go ahead. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry I came in late. So I came in right towards the end of the presentation, but I found it very useful. I mean, it's very down to earth, very basic, and it's something that immediately you leave the session, you can actually start working on it. So I really appreciate that. I plan to look at the video when it's sent, and I'm sure there'll be other nuggets of wisdom, but I think it was, just real, very authentic, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Titi. Okay, any more questions for Yogesh?
No questions from me, but to say a very big thank you for bringing a new perspective to business development. I think I typed in most of my comments in the chat box as he was speaking. Thank you for making it simple and just saying be yourself. I think that's a release I really needed. Be yourself, be authentic, and just play the game. It doesn't matter. That release that, just help people makes it a lot easier for me. Thank you so much for bringing that perspective.
Pleasure.
Thank you. So Suresh also says, yeah, wonderful insights on breaking myths on business development. Thanks. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Viviana, any questions?
Yeah, something like whether we have to stick to one niche, like for example, whether life or business, like.
I'm not sure I understood you. Are you saying should we stick to one particular category?
Yeah, for example, whether we should stick to particular niche life.
No, I'll give you my answer. Again, this is a personal opinion. I don't categorize coaching at all, because every time you're coaching a person.
Okay.
Yeah. So to me, coaching by definition is life coaching. I will give you a very simple example. I was coaching a very senior executive on temperament, because he was supposed to take over as the CEO. And we started talking, and he says, yes, I want to work on temperament. And then when we started exploring, he said, I get angry when I'm guilty. Then finally it led to saying that, okay, I take, my drink for 1.5 hours every day. And that time my wife takes my kids away. So I don't get to spend my time with the kids. So if I get to spend time with my kids, I will not feel guilty, and I perhaps will not feel angry. Then the action emerged was, I will enjoy my drink only on the weekend. And then in support system, I asked him, what is a support system? And support system has to be very funny, like light. So he said, I'm going to ask my 8-year-old son to give me marks if I don't drink on a weekday. And he started doing that. When we sat for the next coaching session, suddenly this is a big man started weeping. Tears started rolling out. And I got very nervous. I said, what happened? He said, you know something? My son gave me bonus marks for not drinking on the weekend. And I realized my problem was not temperament. My problem was alcohol. Now, in a business scenario, it started with something and it ended with completely different. So I asked him that maybe this is not coaching, is not a solution. Do you want to really get into the counseling? But he said, no, that's not required. I can control it myself. But I was just not aware what my real problem is about. And there was a drastic change. So, you don't box people into business people, life, career. You are coaching a person. And if you see the ICF philosophy, you always focus on the client, never focus on the subject. Never focus on the, and my, sorry, I don't want to get into any sermonizing, but a very simple trick that I follow is that I always keep observing the feeling of the person I'm talking to. And it's like a, sniffer dog, for a better analogy. Just like a dog goes on sniffing the trail, I just go on sniffing the feelings trail, and then my client guides me. The moment I focus on feelings, I take my eyes off the subject. Otherwise, all my corporate experience comes into play. I want to start giving my advice, and this is happening big time initially. Yeah. So I think don't categorize yourself. You can literally coach anybody on any topic. That's really what coaching is about. You may start with an advantage with some particular category, but never restrict yourself with that category.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Wow. So good time to stop this conversation for today. Thanks, Yogesh. And, thank you very much. In fact, my own beliefs also got confirmed in what you were saying. Wonderful. Yeah, very assuring, Ranu. That's a great word. So thank you. And to all of you, you are the...
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you are the last batch of this year. So yes, and I hope that the next year will be great for all of us. See you again next year. We will come up with something different, though in the coaching field, of course. So watch out for another initiative.
Thanks,
Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
hoping
you.
that we will always get invited to the master classes. So
Yes.
please, thank you very